Hey legends, welcome to the Connect podcast,
A no BS approach to connecting people,
connecting businesses,
connecting communities.
and connecting successes. Connection is why we're here.
I was at a local park and I just happened to run into this family, and the local family came and they had a child who was in a wheelchair, and they just said, oh, it's so frustrating. We can't get a pathway put here in this park from the local council because they funded some other parks and put all the money towards that and they can't do it right now. And those are like the simple things that I would love to be able to get involved
Yeah.
with. You can't change the world, but you can do little things like that to just try and advocate for people that don't have a voice sometimes.
But where do you get the drive to continue doing this?
I think the drive, like I said, came from my family and like my parents and everything else. But those other days where we know it's just the purpose of, we've seen in the eyes of young people that struggle, and you can see the hurt, the trauma that's behind that. That's what gets you up. That's what will get you to do that work.
You can stick your hand out and say, hey, I'm here to help. I think that's pretty powerful.
What do you see is the future of Campbelltown? Do you still see yourself continuing in politics? And what are your future plans?
Well, my biggest thing is cut the crap. Yes, big $20 million projects and things like that are important. But at the end of the day, people don't give a crap. They just want to make sure that their, localized grassroots things are taken care of. The things of the lawn's getting mowed down the road, the park's taken care of. Generalized things that are supporting their everyday family. The same way that I'm experiencing it with my family. Like, that's what I see. And yes, things are happening. The airport's over this side, all those things. But that all plays into the growth in Campbelltown. Because
Is that why we got a Waterpark in Campbelltown? You're trying to avoid everything besides saying Campbelltown, right? You're trying to...
Bro, I've come up with some creative ways.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Connect podcast. Then you're joined by myself, Ron. We've got Pat, we've got Benny, and we've got a very special guest for you today. We've got the former Deputy Mayor of Campbelltown and current Independent Councillor. He's a loving father, and also got a wife, Jess, who he started an organisation with called Rise Above, which is helping a lot of the community in the Macarthur area. He's also been in the Catholic education system for the last 15 years. So we'll hear a bit about that, hear about what's coming up, and also talk about, what's happening in the local Macarthur area. So he's a big advocate for helping those, and I know he's got a mantra that he sets with his life, and we'll talk about that. But I'd like to welcome everyone to Josh. Welcome, Josh. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks for
Joining us, man.
Mate, I know you've had a lot of requests to be on a podcast, and thank you for selecting ours. We're joining the big boys now. So thanks for coming on board, and it's good to hear what's happening in your world and what you're all about.
Thanks, man. It's as I did mention to you, I have had a few requests, but this is the first,
The official.
the first actual one. I've been on some interviews and stuff before, but
It's because you got another Indian mother from the brother over here. So that's why I'm excited. We're taking over. Put DJ Khead on now.
When you will pay off, Ron.
All right, so mate, can you share a little bit about yourself? You're currently an independent councillor on Campbelltown Council at the moment. Tell us about how you got into politics, how you started your journey, and what you're doing at the moment.
Well, what's your story as well? Where it all started from?
Yeah.
started from Campbelltown Hospital is where I was born.
So local lad.
That's where it first started. But my family is migrated here over 50 years from India and came here with pretty much nothing. And my family, and it's a common story that we would see throughout our whole Macarthur community. That migrating story, that coming over here with nothing. And when my family came here, they just had that work ethic in them. To just want to do better and give us a better life, and without my grandparents and then my parents, and I know it's the same story for my wife as well. Her family, same thing, migrated here, and they've worked so hard to put us in the position we can. So everything that has led to this point of where I am now is based, and the foundations are on that.
So you're born and raised in the Macarthur area.
Correct. Yeah. So I was born
and always been here. Never moved anywhere else.
Always been here in this Macarthur area.
So you've seen the evolution of the area.
I have.
Right? Like
you've seen it. Over 30 years. Now of seeing those changes and everything that's happened in this area.
Yeah.
You might be able to help us with this debate. Do you think we are the area? Or
I think you're going to start a postcode war. We're on.
think that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
Tread lightly.
Well, I was in the area. I'm trying to bring it back down here, after being in Fairfield for so long.
Some things don't change.
But Josh, I'm curious. What was Josh like as a child? Obviously now in the political world, but was that something that you wanted to do from a young age, or?
No, I don't think so. I think, my dad was a police officer for over 25 years. My brother's also a current serving police officer, but I always had that in my mind is that, I loved police. I loved that sort of things. I love my cars. I'm like a car fanatic. And I thought maybe I would go into something with cars or maybe go into the police, or that was kind of, I always just loved cars. So everyone just knows Josh as loving cars and playing sports. I was never, great generally at sport. I tried my best and played cricket and soccer.
Had to be cricket.
Yeah, that's
Of course, cricket. I said, but I was never the best at those sports. I tried my hardest, and I play golf too, which I still play now. But played a bit of golf. But yeah, Josh was never wanted to look at being a politician at any kind of way, shape, or form, and to come to be.
So I wasn't school captain or anything.
I
like
was
that?
school captain.
Another school captain.
I was school captain.
Daddy was school captain.
Yeah.
But yeah,
He went down another route.
That was in high school. Got involved with a lot of stuff, and it was always based on just trying to get involved and taking opportunities. And the same thing from that story of my family always instilled take opportunities, try and do everything, get involved with everything you can, and just see where it went. And it just kind of naturally led because of my dad's community work within the police, and my mum's in a senior management role as well, and on her side of things. So I kind of married those two together. What I got from that. And then saw my dad working heavily, like at the time of the Macquarie Fields riots. And in that time, he was a youth liaison officer there. And a lot of my inspiration for working with young people came from seeing my dad when I was so young, working in those communities.
In a tough time.
2005, it was such a tough time. It was really, really a tough time. And seeing him do that, and then it kind of just led me down this path of kind of going, I kind of enjoy, working with young people, and I enjoy helping people. And it was kind of a thing that was instilled at a young age, but it kind of then led naturally just down this path as I got later years in school. And then I just kind of was coming to the end of school and just kind of said, I don't know what I want to do, but I just know I want to help people in some way or shape or form. So that's just how it led to that. And went after school and got some opportunities to come and work in Catholic education after school, just as not a position in itself, but just to say we need someone in a position to kind of create your own role to just support a young person supporting young people. And that's just how I was able to develop and go from there. And then the politics thing started coming up a little bit more and more in terms of having a voice and kind of getting annoyed with different things that were happening in the community, and seeing things that I go, I didn't really like that and whatever else. But people are always saying, well, if you don't like something, do something about it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And for me, it was like, well, if I'm going to do something about it, you've got to get into a position where you can affect a bit of change. And so I started that journey, coming up to nearly 15 years ago, and I only got elected coming up to 4 years ago, just over 3 years ago. But it took failure in those times.
Yeah.
I went through 4 election cycles to actually get elected.
What is for viewers that don't know, what does the deputy mayor do? What's a role like in
What's
TAF?
involved?
Yeah.
And I think, look, everyone's different.
Yeah.
And I think I'll make that clear. When you become a councillor, everyone does things differently. But obviously, being a councillor came from a place of just helping people because I do that in my everyday job. And, being of service to community is a big thing for me. It's a kind of a mantra for me, which is just being there for people and being able to help in situations. So my whole idea about getting on council was just to help people.
Yeah.
And some people get on there for different reasons.
Yeah.
But mine was just from that place.
And I think that works well into it, you being an independent, right? Because there is such a political focus in terms of if you're in one party, your mindset or your theories about a certain topic have to be a certain way. Being an independent, do you find that it's easier to be more flexible in what you want to do, how you want to do things?
Yeah, and I think I learned that lesson a long time ago. Is when I was in Melbourne, I was doing some travel just for work, and I was at a local park, and I just happened to run into this family, and they were just we were doing some filming just by, and the local family came, and they had a child who was in a wheelchair, and they just said, "Oh, it's so frustrating. we can't get a pathway put here in this park from the local council because they funded some other parks and put all the money towards that, and they can't do it right now. And I just thought, it's like $2,000 worth of concrete. Like it's not like a big deal. You get the Capital Works team to come out and do that, and it'll change so many families' lives just to be able to get access to that park.
One little thing that
We don't think about sometimes. And from when I saw that, I thought those are like the simple things that I would love to be able to get involved in. That you could make some calls and get involved in one way or another. You can't change the world, but you can do little things like that to just try and advocate for people that don't have a voice sometimes. And they've probably sent multiple emails about stuff and called, and it just doesn't get done. So little things like that. And that was one of the first times I went, geez, I really want to get involved with this and try and affect some sort of change.
Yeah.
Would you say that was a moment that you realised that, hey, you know what, this is the path that I want to go down?
Yeah, and I think the political kind of thing was always to the side. It was more the path of, I just want to help people. And that's kind of led to where our Rise Above Foundation was born out of, in 2015. It was, I wanted to help people. The political thing was just always to the side. I was never concentrating on, I want to become a politician or I want to become a local councillor.
And I think that's one of the things that drew me to you in terms of just seeing how you are and also hearing more about that, which is why I've resonated with you as well, because I like the fact that you're not someone that's a politician that thinks that doing mental health initiatives and doing these charities and foundations on the side is going to help you being a politician, right? You're doing these things off the back of wanting to make some change, wanting to help youth, wanting to help mental health issues, and going, you know what, I need to be a politician in order to help with this.
It gives you a platform to...
Sometimes I think, and we've talked about this before, which is the mental health initiatives, the charities are just really promoting and marketing for something else.
Let's use this buzzword just to
push us to make us look good.
Go with the flow. Yeah.
I think what you're doing is really good, because whether the politics, work out or not, or whether you stop doing it, do you ever see yourself stop doing?
Oh, I think so. I really don't think I have state or federal ambitions, because I've got a young family and I love working in my full-time job, which I work in education, and I guess... Mate,
with the Connect team, we're going to get you federal, all right? We're going to get you federal. We're going there.
But yeah, I like Indians. I like being able to work in my day job every day and help people and put politics to the side. Where when I'm doing my council role, great, I'm in that role and that mindset. But when I'm in work mode and trying to genuinely just help people and be out in the community and be running youth programs and be in my casual clothes and sneakers like I am today, running around with doing a school holiday program this morning, things like that. That's what I love doing. So for me, it's not about a political path as such. It's just that's a driver that helps be able to engage people and advocate for people that sometimes don't have a voice. And that's what it's always been for me, is making sure that it's just a way that I can then help people and give them a voice.
Sometimes with politicians, a lot of people see past the bullshit and they know that there's a underlying drive with them, and they just have to say these words and say these sentences just to push their name out there. But it's good and it's refreshing to hear things like this, because you can feel and sense the authenticity, because you can tell you're connected to something bigger. You're connected to service, and then it sort of fulfills something inside of you. And I think that in itself naturally will lift a person up in their position, because when people see authenticity, they connect.
Resonate. Yeah, you can
100%.
Like, you see in American politics, even Australian politics, there's campaigns and stuff like that. And yes, I run a campaign to a certain extent. But for me, it's not about a campaign at election time kind of thing. We're just doing stuff all the time. I'm on videos, I'm talking, I'm taking photos. You see on, use social media to the best of my ability.
But I think in this day and age, you have to, right? No matter what you do.
Yeah, you have to.
Like me being a financial planner, even as a financial planner, no one's going to know that I'm there unless I'm constantly posting and stuff. And then the marketing environment has changed as well, right? The way you promote yourself, because advertising is changing so quickly. So as a politician, I think you need to be doing those things, whether you want to or not. You need to find ways to engage with the community, because all the good stuff that you're doing, I like one of the reels that I posted the other day. At the moment, hate sells. So you have to be out there. You have to be the loudest voice in order to be at the front. What are you doing at the moment? I know you're doing a lot with the youth, even just looking at your past, like you've brought a lot of youth initiatives out there. Maybe we can talk about that, how you're promoting that. And in this day and age of, youth being going down the wrong path. How are you really getting these initiatives started?
A big thing for me was that, especially in Campbelltown, is that we didn't have a youth engagement plan and we don't have youth representatives on council. So for me, for a long time, I always thought we need to get them involved more, authentically get them involved. Don't just tick a freaking box and go, oh, we're just ticking a box here. We're engaging with youth. Great. Well, you're not. All right. You've literally got to be out there in schools, be talking to youth, get them involved in things. And that's where this whole youth engagement plan came from, where it's Campbelltown Council now has an actual strategic plan to engage with youth and have them as part of decision making. That's a big thing, is like making sure they're part of decision making.
What's the message, Josh? Like when you go and speak to the youth, what are we trying to achieve?
What's the intention? What's the message? What's the intention? Where do we want to go?
I think the biggest thing is making sure that they realise is that they're the future of Macarthur. You know, all the people around are getting older, and they're our future leaders. So you're trying to give them a voice, one thing, but also equipping them with the skills to be able to lead this area. We're all going to be not here one day, and our young people need to lead this area. And who knows what, there's so many changes happening in 2024 with the world in general. We don't know what's happening.
100%.
We don't know. We're coming and going. What's happening and the different changes that are happening around the world. But I think a key thing is just making sure and making sure that they feel valued and they feel like that they are part of something, because otherwise they can very quickly disengage. 100%. Young people can so quickly disengage and go, nah, that's not for me. And rightfully so, because there's so much crap out there, like plain and simple. I would disengage too if I was looking at half the stuff that was out there. But you've got to give them a reason to go, you know what? Yeah, I might give that a crack. Yeah, maybe I will give my opinion on this. As soon as you get them involved from that level, they feel a sense of that they have some sort of ownership over it and can be involved. And I know you will all see this in your various forms of work and getting involved with young people or whatever else. You'll see different ways around it. But the biggest thing is making sure they feel valued, they've got pride in their local Macarthur area. And I think a big thing about Campbelltown is the stigma of the area. It's like the stigma of Campbelltown. Yeah. It's still lingering now. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I was talking to you before about Macquarie Fields riots and things like that. Those kind of events have obviously played into that stigma of the area.
Even though you've got $2 million houses scattered everywhere, Campbelltown is still Campbelltown, right?
100%.
So even when you're, dealing with people in the city and stuff, when you got to say Macarthur, you're trying to avoid everything besides saying Campbelltown, right? You're trying.
Bro, I've come up with some creative ways.
It's true.
I'm 40 minutes away from Hurstville.
Wow,
that is a stretch. Yeah, you're Hurstville. Yeah, 40 minutes south.
Off the back of what Josh said, I think it's time that people be proud in the area that they actually live in. Right? Like obviously a lot of us come from this side of town, being Camden or on this side of the bridge, but. It'd be nice for people to be proud in the area that they live in too. So the initiative's great. I think, connecting with the youth over there, there would be some troubled youth out there that are pushing back against,
100%.
Society's way.
But in saying that, how do you go about, I guess, doing these youth initiatives, given that, in this day and age where social media is all about having flashy cars and everything needs to be cool and you need to be a rapper or look like a rapper or act like a drug dealer, that's the cool thing. Yeah. How do you go about going to a youth festival and it being seen as something that can continue to attract people?
Well, I just try and be myself. So I don't, just because I hold a position on council and I'm in a suit for my council meetings and that, I never, ever go meet with youth in a suit, ever. Yeah. I'm in my trackies, showing tattoos, everything else. And I found it always as a way to connect, because I didn't even have to open my mouth. And I've already connected with them just by just being just me, and just turning up in my gym clothes.
I think that's where a lot of politicians are getting it wrong. They're rocking up to these events in their suits and stuff and trying to be like everyone else, the average Australian, but you're not looking like the average Australian when you're rocking up with all these cameras. And the thing I like about you is you might have the only things that I've seen with the events that you've been at, you're not even tagging, you're not tagging stuff to make it push. You're just showing that, and it's from a random photographer at an event you're at. You're not pushing it. You're just there. Yeah. That's what I love about what you're doing, which is too many politicians are going out and then having a 10 camera crew around them, being in a suit, showing it, doing a couple of handshakes, walking out of 5 minutes. I'm guessing you're probably there. Yeah. Organising events, starting the event.
And the stuff you don't see is that we go into all the different areas, Eds, Claymore, everything else. My wife and I are delivering, food to different families on a weekly basis sometimes, especially through COVID. We were doing, 120 deliveries a week sometimes to support families and everything else. And for us, that's just normal for us. It's not, and some people don't want to do that. We'll not go step into that. But for us, that's just our normal work because that's what we do and we have done for a long time. But that engages people. Like even just from doing that, we had young people who were playing with the footy at the front. And I said, hey, throw me the footy.
Yeah.
And it's like, just throw the footy and they're just, throwing the footy around. Things like that, it actually builds rapport because they go, who was that guy? Like, what was that? And I'm just the guy that delivered the food. But, I don't talk about who my position.
Where do you get your drive from that? Because like for me, right, I was in a system where, we had docs and I was taken away from my mother to live with my father. And, for me now seeing it, I hate being in situations where I see it happening to the other side. And unfortunately for me, I like always trying to help initiatives, but I never want to be 100% in it because it just brings back memories. And I give it to people like you who do it. But where do you get the drive to continue doing this?
I think the drive, like I said, came from my family, like my parents and everything else. But obviously my wife and I have been together for 15 years. So we've always done very similar work in this place. But without her, I can't do the stuff I do. Yeah. And she can't do the stuff that I do without her. And she is the main driver with helping me with everything that we do. And so we push each other with a family life. Like everyone, I know a lot of people that are listening to this, you guys around here, we're all trying to balance families and relationships and everything else. So being able to do that, plus if you're running a business or you're working in a job, whatever you're doing, studying, you could be, whatever you're doing, trying to balance that's a massive thing.
100%.
So for us, it's just, where do we get the enthusiasm? We all have our lazy days. There's no doubt about it. There's days that we just want to sit around in the lounge as well and watch Netflix and just relax with the kids and, take the dog for a walk. But those other days where we know it's just the purpose of, we've seen in the eyes of young people that struggle. And when you see that, that's what gets you up every day, because you can see, and I know because my family came from a similar place of that. So when you see that and you can see a child needs help or a family is in desperate need, or in some of the situations, which obviously I can't go into too much, but we do a lot of DV support and things like that as well. When you see those situations and you see people's eyes and you look into their eyes and you can see the hurt and the trauma that's behind that, that's what gets you up. That's what will get you to do that work.
You can stick your hand out and say, hey, I'm here to help. I think that's pretty powerful. Yeah.
And do it from a place of not, I'm here to help as Josh Cotter, Councillor Josh Cotter. Doing it from a place of, I'm just
I'm going to help,
a random guy.
and I need your vote. So
definitely not that.
Do you want it?
It's like, you know what it reminds me of? It's like those videos you see online when they're feeding the homeless or giving the homeless person
they're
$50,
but
they're like
camera.
holding a camera at the same time saying, hey,
Yeah.
here you go, here's $50.
Yeah.
And they're
smile for the camera.
and they're putting their face so they can make sure they're
getting all the right angles.
all the right angles. Yeah.
They make sure.
The hard part is the balance of that too.
Yeah.
We're the same in the gym space. We've got a community, and we work with several charities. A lot of people see some stuff that we do on screen, but what they don't see is all the
What
work
you're doing
we do
off screen
behind the scenes. And then you got to balance that, because you want to be seen in the community that you are, a prominent person, and you are, because you need people to know that
100%.
too. So, but you're not doing, when people know that you're not doing it, Josh, from a place of, look at me scenario, ego, then they resonate with that.
And some people don't see it that way. Doesn't matter what you post.
100%.
So people aren't going to see it that way. Like,
And sometimes it's the people that are closest to you.
Yeah, 100%. Like people won't see it sometimes. They'll see it as just, you're just promoting yourself. But it's like, if I don't talk about what this great initiative that's happening here, how are they going to get promotion? Or I went and visited them and did this work with them. It's not about talking about me. It's about talking about them. But it's taken as you're just doing it as self-promotion for yourself. But
they don't realise how much of an impact it's leaving on the world around, and the ripple effects it's leaving by you carrying out doing your thing. Yeah. It's like, hey, you know what? Let's just attack them, because this is the
and also
easy thing.
It's kind of just a reflection of themselves not doing anything at all.
100%, man. Yeah. But people like that, I don't think
haters.
Yeah. Well, haters. But it takes a bit for someone to realise and pick up on that. Josh, you mentioned you and your missus were you have your own charity, you have your own foundation. Do you want to take us through that and where it started from? What originated that? What brought that to life? How the start came about and where it's at now? What you've done
it started from a place of just in our full-time roles, seeing gaps that we saw with sometimes just being that middle person.
What's your missus do?
Sorry, she's a social worker working in out of home care and
Yeah.
foster care
Nice.
and supporting in that. So she's done that for quite a long time and worked in other areas of community service and community work as well in her time.
Nice.
So we both got very similar kind of backgrounds professionally, but it came from a place of just seeing gaps that we thought, especially here in Macarthur, that we could fill those gaps. And sometimes it's not us doing all the work, it's being that connection point, because people know us from our community engagement and they will just ring us and go, Josh or Jess, we just need help with this, or we found out about a family that needs help with this. Who can? And we'll go, yep, we've got a great partner organisation that can do this, or we'll do it ourselves. Like, especially through COVID and stuff like that, we were utes, vans, whatever deliveries needed to be done, furniture deliveries, getting people into emergency accommodation, all these different things. It just came from a place of going, we need to fill some gaps here. So we started just doing that and started running some of the youth programs. So like stuff on body image and resilience and things like that, where you got a group of, say, young boys that were just struggling with stuff. You would see this in the gym and the stuff that you work as well. And it's just started from a place of that, and then my own personal experiences with some of that as well, and wanting to just engage with them. Like I said, running around with them with a footy, taking them to the gym, doing those sort of things. So we started off from that, and then it just grew from there.
Yeah.
It just went, from there. And then we had to scale back a bit because it just gets a bit too much sometimes. And I'll probably talk a bit more about it after. But yeah, learning to kind of managing time around community stuff and things like that it can get a lot. But yeah, that's where it grew from that. And now it's kind of grown into a place of just where we're doing it every week. We're involved in one way or another in something, or partnering with organisations in some way or another. And we're inundated with messages or calls or whatever it may be. And a lot of my time in the car is spent making calls, a list of calls of just people I've got to return calls for.
So if somebody's going through a certain situation that, they would reach out to you guys on your platform, and then, you can connect them with.
A lot of our work is word of mouth, because it's trusted people who trust us, and then we have trusted partners that we can pass it on to. It's not something that you would just see on a website and go, oh, click that. Is there someone behind that? Who's the person behind that? It usually comes from a place of someone hears something and goes, listen, I know someone personally, which might be us, that can help in some way or another, and then we know someone personally that can help in that
situation. Almost, play as the middleman.
Correct. And it's important because there's a face behind that name. Yeah. That's a big thing, because sometimes you just click something and no one's sometimes just going to go get help because they see an image somewhere. Sometimes they might, but they're not just going to click because they don't know who's on the other end of it.
Well, that's what we were talking about in one of our episodes, which is there's so many avenues to get help for mental health, but a person that's going through their issues, none of those avenues might be the ones that they want. Being calling up a hotline, speaking to a random person. Sometimes it's just a friend of a friend, or a friend, or just having that chat. Yeah. But it's hard. Look, it's always going to be an issue.
Well, do you think about, if you're going through something, then they have those great, initiative days. And imagine if you actually are deeply struggling to turn up to that group environment, and that would be hard for some.
100%. And even just like cost of living at the moment. We all know, like, it's terrible at the moment. Like, and families that are struggling, they don't want to just click something random, because it might be someone they know on the other end of it, and that embarrassment and that shame behind it, like asking for help in that situation, they're scared. But if it's somebody they trust, and then they go, look, I know this person, there's a lot more of a comfort, in knowing that. So yeah, there's a little bit of that risk in that space, especially now in this environment with such cost of living pressures that we have here, and people are struggling in all different facets of life.
Man, you sound like, you mentioned it before, you get inundated with the amount of requests coming through and people that need support, and you had to scale it back a bit. But now we're on a platform where we're able to put it out there and ask for support. We're a community now. So in a way of supporting you and helping what you're able to do, who would be the best people that would be able to support you? What sort of organisations would, like, if someone's listening,
or even people, if they wanted to be involved in Rise Above, they wanted to donate, how can they?
We've got various partner organisations that we've partnered with for a number of years. Just to name a couple, just off the top of our heads, We Are Community out at Aids do amazing work. We do a lot of work with them and have for quite a few years. Lamanda Community Project down at Lamia, amazing, and a number of other ones in the area as well. And they all, it's not just like one service that they give, it's like whole of family service. So it's like if you're struggling with different areas, whether it's young people, older people, whatever it is, depending on what it is, whether it's you need food or you need furniture or you need deliveries or you need whatever it is, there's someone there that can fill that gap in those spaces, and it's not, they're just to name a few off the top of the head. There's a list of 100 that are that long in here. But what I can say is the Macarthur area is filled with amazing organisations that are doing great work. There are also some ones that aren't doing it for the right reasons. I will say that, and have just got into it just to, for their own reasons. But the ones that are doing amazing work should be recognised, and 100%. If through this is the Connect Macarthur podcast, and through Connect Macarthur, and I think what we're doing here is amazing, and what you guys are doing. If anyone needs help or anyone needs to reach out, connecting through the guys to me, to my wife, whatever it may be, and then we can connect with the right services, or we provide the services ourselves, depending on what it is, confidentially. Everything's done confidentially behind the scenes. There's nothing.
And if anyone wants to support you as well, if anyone wants to jump on
We've
board
got a lot of initiatives that we kind of want to launch in the next few months, and we're doing some changes to sort of scale back and do a few different things from there. So keep track of kind of what we're doing and where we're going with a few things, because there'll be a lot more support. We're looking to do a lot more heavily focused school stuff, which we have done in the past, but really want to focus in on that. So that's going to be a big project going forward that, businesses, organizations, whatever else want to get involved with that. I think it'll be, it's kind of the first of its kind that we're trying to bring out in the next few months, but I can't kind of go into that too much because it's still...
What if we slip you a 50?
still in the approval stages.
Yeah. Look, when we initially, were talking about this particular platform being the podcast, the intention for this was to obviously connect with our local community and beyond. And we wanted to partner with people like yourself, people that, with good intentions, hand on their heart, are driving a purpose and a mission. And we believe that we could use this platform to get it out. And that's why we were aligned to bringing you on the show, Josh, because we from everything Ron had told us previously, we knew that, what you guys doing is amazing. So hats off to you and your wife for how much work and effort goes into it. People don't see how much time actually goes into these things behind the scenes. So, it should be commended.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that.
And how do you go about doing, juggling being a father? What, you got 2 under 5, so 3 and 1. Being a loving husband, a father, being someone that's in the community, but not only in the community, still having, a charity, still doing your full-time role. How do you juggle it? We talked about it with Ben, him and his wife, work in business together. They've got 2 kids. So it's good to hear other people's perspective.
Yeah, I think it's probably my biggest challenge is time management, and how do you do that? And I think we struggled probably a lot more with it a few years ago, but now we've sort of got to a point where we've learned to say no.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing, is like, all the time we were saying, yes, we'll get involved in this. Yes, we'll come to that. Yes. There's only so much you can do. And the only way I could do that is prioritize kind of what's important.
And you need to start valuing yourself more,
Correct.
right?
And
sometimes you are so giving that you forget about your own value.
Correct. Yeah.
And how much you can take on.
Yeah. And my biggest role above anything else is that I'm a husband and a father. That's my role, was a father first, you know what I mean? And being there for my family, my wife and I, that's my number one thing. And I've always said, if business or my job or council or anything gets in the way of me spending that quality time with my kids, I'll give it up. Simple as that. Because that's more important than anything else. And I think that's probably resonates with a lot of people, but sometimes we, are misguided in that, and we focus way too much on something.
Tunnel vision.
And that's okay, because sometimes you've got to just blank out from the world and get the work done. Just put your head down and get the work done. And sometimes it is going to be a sacrifice. And we have had those moments where I was working, a bit further away and doing those things and doing crazy hours and all those things. And we have done that, but we've just learnt to kind of back off on some things that we don't need to be involved with. And that doesn't mean we don't support those people or support those organizations or whatever it is, or sit on boards and stuff like that. It's just that we had to realize is that we can't do everything. And you've just got to scale it back and learn to.
And you don't want to half-ass it, right?
Correct.
You don't want to go in because you've been asked to do this role or do this event because of the position you're in, right? If you go in and do it half-assed, you're not only let down other people, your image is potentially, you've ruined that image as well. You've got to think about those things. And it's not that you don't want to help, it's just that you want to be fully committed to it.
Correct.
Something like I was always a person that never wanted to let people down. So in doing that, it probably came from my childhood and upbringing, social surroundings, whatever, X, Y, Z. But when you're constantly back in mind thought was not wanting to let people down, not wanting to let people down, you obviously always constantly go above and beyond, above and beyond, above and beyond, to the point where you start wearing yourself out completely. And it becomes exhausting. And then you start thinking to yourself, man, my priorities have to start being prioritized, because your focus is shifted onto not letting people down, not wanting to let people down, but then you start to forget about your priorities, which become which are your family and your kids and that sort of a thing, and then you start swaying because of what you've learned.
Because you assume that it's there,
100%.
it's always there.
And something I eventually understood and taught myself is my decision making right now is based on what level of priority it is. So my decision making right now is based on my priorities.
I think it's always a work in progress.
It
too,
is,
right?
man.
Like,
You sway back and forth.
I constantly find, and Josh, you're probably the same, that we take on certain things and then you get, all the way through and you think, that one, I had to sacrifice here, and here to complete this project. Yeah. And when you're all in, Josh, right? Like when, I know we don't half-ass anything. That's the nature of who we are. But you give everything 100%. But the balancing act between the father, and the roles that you play is a challenge, right?
Which are not small roles. It's not like you've got
heavy roles.
Yeah. You're not it's not like you're DJing or at this one, so you can miss a few gigs. These are very important roles.
People relying on you.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, it's true. And I think it just comes from a place sometimes of sometimes you get excited. It's like someone will talk to you about something and you get excited and you jump at it. It's like, with me with the cars, like I'm on car sales and I'm like looking at something and I see something. Like,
what can I do to this?
Let's get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and you get that, but then like I get a reality check from my wife.
Yeah. Hey, can you help me with this on Rise Above? Car sales again?
So you get like, and then you just got to like take a step back and go, hold on a second. Like, is it, do I need it? Or like, you kind of go in that same kind of thing sometimes. So sometimes you just get so excited about things. And I don't think in that message as well is like, I don't think you should feel guilty for working your ass off. You know what I mean? Like working your ass off and putting your family, and sometimes that means missing out on time with your kids and whatever else, but working your ass off to get to a goal, I think 100%, I'm not saying one little bit not to do that. It's just, there's got to be obviously a bit of a balancing act in that. But yeah, I think not misconstrued as you shouldn't work hard and you should just 24/7 be with your kids. It's not that at all. Like it's so it can be complicated. It's a complicated.
It is, isn't it? And it's such a blurred area as well. Like
100%.
People just use it as a way of understanding life to be like, let's not work hard at all because my priority is my family. But then you're not going to be able to accommodate.
At the moment, we're in this like kumbaya world where everyone has to like settle, slow down and meditate and hold hands. And we're like, man, I can't live like that. I've tried. We're go-getters. We want to make a change. That's
but why do you want to make a change, man? Because ultimately it comes down to the level of value you're able to provide for your family and what you're able to establish for them and for your community. Once you establish yourself, you're able to leave better ripple effects for the people around you.
We are put on this earth to do that, to make a change, to make an impact. That's what I believe. Everybody has a story that can impact, and it's driven by our upbringings, and we can share that. And the angle, I'm so passionate about that youth sector because that's who we should be influencing.
100%, and you said it correctly. It is the next generation of Campbelltown, right? And with what we see in Campbelltown, like you said, there is a lot happening in Camden. There's a lot of focus even in Macarthur. There's a lot of infrastructure. Everything's going towards this side of the bridge. Yeah. So you being on the other side of the bridge, what do you see is the future of Campbelltown? What are you doing to help with the future of Campbelltown? Do you still see yourself continuing in politics? And what are your future plans?
Well, my biggest thing is cut the crap. Like, cut all the bull crap out, right? And yes, big $20 million projects and things like that are important. But at the end of the day, people don't give a crap. They just want to make sure that their, localized grassroots things are taken care of. The things of the lawns getting mowed down the road, the parks taken care of, generalized things that are supporting their everyday family. The same way that I'm experiencing it with my family. Like, that's what I see. And yes, things are happening. The airport's over this side, all those things. But that all plays into the growth in Campbelltown. Because
is that why we got a Waterpark in Campbelltown?
The Waterpark, well, the Billabong was before my time, so I didn't get to it was before my time. It was decided on and everything else before that time. But when you've got things like that I've kind of inherited as becoming
Yeah.
a councillor in the last few years, I just see that you've just got to try and see how you can activate things like that. And when I say activate, I mean also use them for other things. Like there's been roadways put into it, for example, that can put food trucks in there, and you could have nighttime cinemas. You could do, different events and things like that. So
I think some of that does
utilising
need to happen
space.
on that side because it's all happening over here. There needs to be more of a community focus where we're getting together at Campbelltown at night or after hours, because it kind of feels like everyone avoids Campbelltown.
Everyone's heading over here. It's a fact. Like back in the day, it was like Macarthur or Macarthur. It was that place to go, right? Like it was pumping back then. But now everything's out here. Everyone's coming out to Gregory Hills. Everyone's coming out to Camden CBD, whatever else out this side. And I think that's where Campbelltown needs to pick up its game as well. We need to be supporting business owners. We need to be supporting people who want to have bars and different things in that area that to give to that nightlife economy. Because right now, the nighttime economy in Campbelltown is not great.
Even in Macarthur, right? Like you've got all these, they're opening up food food street on Oran Park, right?
Yeah.
But after 5 o'clock, it is dead.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing keeping people out. But it's a great place. The places look great. We just need to get that nightlife. And look, maybe this is due to lockdown laws years ago from Sydney that has filtered out to here in Camden. But there needs to be more of a presence because in this current climate, restaurants, cafes, they're going to open and they're going to close if they're not going to get that traffic.
Man,
right?
I went through yesterday. I was in Newtown. So random. I went to Marrickville for a comedy nightclub or something like that, and I was there about an hour early, and I was hungry, so I went down. I walked down Newtown, and it was just so lively on a Thursday night. And then when my missus joined me, I go, "Babe, this is mad. This is cool. It's just like it feels like a Saturday night." Imagine we had this in our area. It's so weird. It's like on a weeknight, we're just kicking back at home, or we're just going training, or we're just going. Well, we don't have something lively. We don't have something. And why is it that we have to travel the whole way out to the city to experience that? I'm sure you don't have to, but but that was our go-to. I'm sure there's things closer, but imagine something like that. It was weird, and we it just came to our attention. It was like, yeah, you know what? Let's come down here one night, one weekday night, and then we're like, no, you know what? It would be cool if we experience this in our own area. But have we ever tried going out to Campbelltown or Camden or in our
you only go to
area
one specific
after
place,
hours?
right? You go to one place and then you leave. There's no
You
way
don't lead into multiple venues that are going to support
Creates
multiple
a
places
vibe.
on the way.
Yeah.
There's
creates
also
a
no
vibe.
like precinct of them either.
Yeah.
I think like the planning of
It's scattered. It's
bit
scattered everywhere.
It is. It's scattered. That's what it is.
True.
I think
It
that's
is.
Yeah.
And I think, look, in planning and infrastructure, I think they are trying to create that vibe. They are trying. Like Ed Square's got a bit of it, I reckon. Like
Yeah,
when
it
you walk
does.
down Ed Square,
Yeah.
you got a
It
bit
does.
of that kind of vibe with the apartments and stuff, which would kind of have that city vibe to it. But
Oh, look, if I was living anywhere in the Macarthur area, just apartment living, Ed Square would be the place
it ticks the
from that
boxes.
point of view.
yeah, it's got a. It's
There
pretty
needs
lively.
to be more of that
Yeah.
pushed out this way.
Yeah, it's pretty lively, and I think, it's definitely needed. That influence from those city areas definitely needed out here.
Man,
Josh,
go.
sorry,
You go.
We can fight it out if you want. It's on-
Push-up challenge. Push-up challenge.
Josh, I wanted to know what's been your proudest moment, because you've been involved in so many different projects now. You know what's one that really resonates? That's one of your key moments.
Obviously, having my kids, definitely, but from a community point of view, definitely it was a long-term goal becoming a councillor, because in that process I went through 4 different election cycles, failed. You know what I mean? Failed, and just had to keep getting back up. And that's a big thing I talk to young people about as well, is that I didn't just go into this and just get into it straight away. It was like I failed and had to go through that whole process again and try again and then fail again.
And you would have to self-fund that, self-promote,
Correct. Like
get a team together.
Correct, and that was hard. Like it was hard, and it was my wife that was pushing me. And even the last time that I went for it, and I said to my wife, "This is it." I said, "If I don't get on this time, that's it. Like I can't do it again. I can't put this pressure on us as a family. It's just too much." And luckily, I did get on. But that was one of my proudest moments. But I think the work that we did from Rise Above through COVID and through those times, that was probably some of my proudest stuff, because, like I was saying before, where we got to be, we're not handing things to people. We're standing side by side with people and being there with them. And even sometimes it's not even about what you're giving them; it's giving them your time. just talking to them, having a smile. They haven't talked to people because of COVID for ages. Like they don't have people around them. Just to have a smile and a quick chat or like, how you doing or whatever else, seeing that smile or throwing that footy to that kid, like was such a big thing for us.
And we do forget that, right? Like it was easy for us to, like a lot of people complained during COVID, but they've got phones, they've got tablets, they've got laptops. They're talking to people constantly, social media. What about the kids and what about the families that don't have any of that? You know, they don't have internet, they don't have a phone, they don't have social media because they don't have devices to be able to use it.
There's so many families.
They're the ones that had absolutely no one. And, you know, when people complain about what happened during COVID, after going overseas and seeing what people really dealt with, 8 people, no air conditioning, living in a tin shack, we've got nothing to complain about.
So, and I think young people really have struggled as well from that time, because some young people thrive off face-to-face connection. When they're at school, they're forced to be in positions sometimes where they have to connect. When you're at home, and if you aren't a great communicator on your device, or you don't even have that, like some of them don't have Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever else, they're just in their own shell. So they're not getting that interaction that they had there. And then even just taking it one step further with older, you know, teenagers and whatever else moving into like uni and stuff, when everything went online, you're missing this whole thing of like, when I went to uni, it was like face-to-face connection. You built friends and you could, like, you built that next step of your life from school to now, like a friends there where it's uni or TAFE or, you know, if you're doing an apprenticeship or whatever else, there was times where you pulled back on all that stuff and you're not having that face-to-face connection. So we're seeing now, a couple of years on, those young people that were in that period are now more disengaged, don't know how to attack
social interaction.
Adult life. You're kind of seeing now the effects of it a couple of years on, because it was like they missed out on this period because they weren't put into sometimes uncomfortable positions where you have to come out of your shell or you have to do those things. So,
and what advice would you have to those people that are probably might be watching this and going and in that shell and don't know what to do, don't know how to get involved in anything? Do you have any advice?
I think that the number one thing is you've got to try to get out of your comfort zone. And that's an easy thing to say, sit here and say, get out of your comfort zone. But I mean, try to play to your strengths. So if you like something or you're passionate about something, get involved with that. Don't listen to what someone else says that, hey, come down and, you know, play soccer with us, and like you've never kicked a ball in your life. It's not your interest, right?
Because you're going to get pushed away more.
But if your thing is you love like playing games online or something like that, but
you've got a group.
You've got a community of people that do that same thing. Find what you can connect with. Like, that's your thing. Don't think that you have to cater to what other people are doing. If you're gifted and talented in that way, or that's your skill set as a young person, you think that you've got an interest in that, go towards that. Don't think about, okay, your parents might say, go do this or go do that, and try it. It's good to try different things and be a bit uncomfortable sometimes, but try to play to your strengths. And that's what I would say. Start with that, and that can lead you to multiple opportunities that you wouldn't even have thought of just by talking to someone. And I think another thing is if you have the confidence to do that, is talking to people. The number one thing I did was in networking, and we all know this, is just trying to talk to people that you've never spoken to before. And that's such a hard thing to do, but like, look up to like business owners and look up to people that you might go, oh, how do they have that? Like if you see someone with a cool car or a nice house or whatever else, it's like they didn't get to that position just by doing nothing, right? They obviously have some sort of story that got them to that point. So try to connect with them in one way or another. And it could be the simple thing of sending them a message on social media. You don't have to stand up. You don't have the confidence to go talk to them, but send them a message. Just say, hey, I'm trying to do this. I had a young person the other day. I'm just trying to sell one of my cars, right? How good is this? He sent me a message. He goes, hey, I'm not interested in buying your car. He goes, but I've just started my own little detailing business. And he goes, I would love to just come out, do it cheap, just detail your car. I thought, and I messaged him back. I said, mate, this is awesome. I said, what a great way. You're looking for alternate ways, right? You're starting your own little business, alternate ways. You're messaging people that are selling their cars to make their cars look better and market them better instead of just waiting around for someone to call you.
Right, I think Ben was talking about the other day, like just how you position yourself just from not wanting the business, but just to show you can do the work, right? Because you're going to, like you telling us now, without, like, you're going to remember that for so much longer 100%. Than just if he put, it's $100 and it was that cheap or whatever it may be, right? Little things like that, stepping out of your comfort zone, I think is getting taken for granted these days.
Yeah.
Because it's all the things that we had to do
Yeah.
in order to get to where we are today.
Yeah.
Like, I think I was talking to you before, growing up as a for me, a small Indian guy in community, you had to, you had to kind of put yourself out there, be a louder voice. I was always the guy on the sidelines looking, going, why am I not in that group? How do I get in that group? And just like you said, I might not have done it in that meeting. I would have gone back and emailed some email to say, hey, I've seen what you're about. Find out some information about them. How can I be involved in this? Or can we catch up for a coffee? You might get rejected, but if you don't know,
Yeah,
100%.
if you don't try, you're not going to know.
That's it.
Right?
100%. And half those times are rejections, but
Yeah.
there's that one opportunity that you can take. One person responds to you, and that could be, you don't know where that's going to lead you.
Yeah.
Totally.
Now,
In the interest of time, boys,
Yeah.
Pat, were you gonna? Did you
Josh,
have-
I
Any
was
last-
yeah, look, I was going to actually ask you, Deputy Mayor, Councillor, we've heard the good times, we heard what drives you, we heard what's connected internally. Well, what about the tough times? What were the hardest times? What are the hardest times? What are the annoying bits as part of those positions, as Deputy Mayor, as a councillor?
I think, and look, everyone has a right to free speech and say what they want. And I think we would all feel this, is that when there's amazing people doing great things out there, like organisations and everything else, and then people just get on there and just for the sake of it, just putting them down and just trashing them for no reason, but they're just out there trying to do something. Or they might even be just trying to promote a business or start something else, or whatever else, and they're just trashing them for having a go, having a crack. Like, you know what I mean?
Warriors.
I say to people all the time, right? People just that are complaining about something or whatever else, I'll say, have a crack. Like, come and run for council as well. Like, the more the merrier, the better. More people get involved, the better. Like, have a crack at it. But those are some of the things that I think a lot of people in business, a lot of people in organizations struggle with. Like,
the freedom of speech gets mixed up with freedom to be a dickhead sometimes, because
I think Facebook gave people a platform to
people
do that.
people always say that, and this is the thing that I hate, and this is a bit of a grind my gears, which is you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
But there's going to be people that agree with you. Yeah. There's going to be people that don't agree with you. And there's going to be people that are offended. And they also have the right to be offended. They also have the right to be emotional. But whenever you say something, don't take it as everyone is going to accept what you say.
Yeah, 100%.
There's going to be backlash. If you're going to say something controversial, be prepared to accept the backlash.
Yeah, that's right.
But also, if you're going to say something and it's just negative, go do something about it if you're that passionate.
Yeah.
We've got too many keyboard warriors in the world that just like negativity.
100%. And get to know people. Like, if you want to make a comment and you think there's something like constructive feedback you've got for something great, but get to know that person a bit more, connect with them and say, listen, I think what you're doing is absolutely stupid, right? But I think you should try and do this or try and do that. They may not listen, but try and give some sort of constructive feedback to your negativity in one way or another. I think it's important to do that. But yeah, that's definitely something
to educate the youth of.
So would you say that's the most annoying part?
So that's probably one of the things, because I just see it, and a lot of people complain to me about it as well. It's like, oh, we're trying to do this, we're trying to start this with so much negativity, and it's hard being around that.
It probably stops people from
Of
doing it,
course,
right?
it makes you second guess it. So everyone has insecurities. It's
Yeah,
on a spectrum
100%.
for each person. It obviously starts to make you question: am I worthy enough to do this?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, what about this podcast? Like, how many? There was
we
there was
undenied for a
bits
long
and
time.
hesitation in the past, but we're like, stuff it, man. Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Let's connect ourselves to something bigger. Connect.
Well, one question I did actually have for you, because one of the things that we didn't talk about is one of the other jobs you have, which is you're also a marketing consultant, which leads to you to also helping with, local businesses. And I know a lot of businesses approach you and talk about, how they can help in the community, or in their perspective, how can they be shown to help in the community?
Yeah.
How do you go about working with, businesses to not just put your name to it and show like they're doing something versus actually helping in the
100%.
community?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because there's a real balance between it, and it's sometimes it's a product of that businesses physically don't have the time, so they just go, here's a check, I don't have the time because my business is thing, and that's fair enough, that's okay to a certain extent. But there's also then the expectation of like, oh, I'm giving you a check, so therefore I should be getting this and this out of it. But it's like, well, you're not really engaging at another level. So part of that work is a lot of businesses, organizations, whatever else talk to me, and a lot of this is just free just me just having meetings and, just had chats on the phone and everything else about how to structure things so it's authentic. It's not a tick of the box, not a just handing you something here and, just, yeah, great. Yeah, here's $5,000. Awesome. But where's it actually going? Like, what's that funding? What's that helping with? Like, a lot of businesses support, and I know there's a lot of businesses out there that have been burned with supporting some charities and stuff like that because it goes to just random things.
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of businesses have pulled back on that and want to just support things that they are personally connected with or whatever. And I think that's great too, because I think you've got to be wary of that. But I think a key thing is like trying to see if you do have a bit of extra time in your week or in that month, is if you're giving $5,000 to someone or you're supporting something, take your staff and try and go and do something active. So if they do have a program they're running, where it might be supporting the homeless or doing something else, take the stuff and actually go volunteer your time. I can tell you right now, the amount of organizations that we engage with that would rather your time than your money is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because the time that you would come there and you make a face-to-face connection, just smile at someone and say g'day, right, is so much more precious than sometimes the money. Because the money, yes, it helps, it funds buying food and doing those things, but time and people, face-to-face connection with people, organizations love that a lot more because they are lacking volunteers in that space. So having your business come and do that and not expecting something as a return straight away out of it is, businesses are always like, all right, if I'm giving you $5,000, what's my return on investment? It's like, it's not about like a return straight away.
Yeah, and what platforms are you going to post me on? And,
like there's got to be, and there's an element of that. You're running a business. So
Yeah.
obviously you've got to have an element of something that you want to see in return. But there's also got to be an authentic side to it.
It can't just be about the promotion side.
Correct.
Of it,
Like
right?
you're passionate about that. And the best way I find to combat that is go with something that you're personally connected with. If you're a business owner or you're leading an organization or whatever it is, go with something you're personally connected, whether it's a sporting club or if your family's been affected by cancer or whatever else. Connect with something that you're passionate about. Don't just connect with something for the sake of it, because very quickly it'll just turn into
Frizzle out.
Yeah, it'll just turn it because there's no passion behind that. So get behind causes that are worthy to get behind because it's a personal connection to you or your staff or whatever it may be. But I've found that's the most effective connections that you can have in business and with organizations, and it cuts out the bull crap again. Like cuts out the crap in between where it's just a transaction. That's the word.
Josh, that's great advice. I wanted to finish on one more question. I don't know if the boys, you still have any.
No, I think
in the interest
wrap
of
it up,
time, but what's
You've
next?
already given us enough time, Josh.
Yeah.
so-
What's next for Josh? Like, what's in Josh's world for the future?
Well, I've always said it, and I've never been shy to say, is that I always had a dream when I started getting involved with this, is to become the mayor of Campbelltown. That was always a dream. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be immediate right at this point, but I hopefully in the future, that's where I'm leading to. And being an independent and trying to get that, as an independent mayor for Campbelltown is a goal of mine, and that's where I would like to go next. But, it's just traveling the world with my wife and kids and, really trying to hone in on that and spend time with them. But, from a community and politics point of view, yes, the mayorship's there. And that's not, again, it's not a thing to get the role. It's to get the role because it stands for all this other stuff that led to that point. All that failure, all of that work with people just to get to that point is that just an ordinary boy who was born in Campbelltown Hospital and has gone through the same struggles and is now a father and a husband, was able to do that. You can do the same thing.
Well, Josh, I just want to say, on behalf of everyone in Connect, you have our absolute full support. We really appreciate you coming on today and spending some time with us, giving us some great value into your world. We definitely will have you back on when you are the mayor.
And I think I think we're all going to sell. We're going to move over to that side of the bridge so we can vote, mate. But we want to thank you for sharing your journey with us, sharing your story. Like you said, you haven't been on a podcast in this format before, so thank you for going through that and letting us know and hearing about your initiatives. I think our listeners are going to be really happy and really positive about what you're actually doing, and to be able to see this side of you that they may not have seen before, because like we said, there's a lot of politicians out there that it's just a lot of noise, and for you to actually be in the trenches helping people, whether you are in council or not, is great. you know,
You're taking action.
I think it's
You're
great.
taking
Very
action.
inspirational.
Well done, Josh.
And look, if anyone wants to continue following Josh, mate, do you want to? You've got your Facebook, Josh Cotter,
Yeah,
Councillor
Councillor
Josh
Josh Cotter. That's probably the easiest to get to us, and from there, and then now email. You can always email me at josh.riseabove@gmail.com or jessica.riseabove@gmail.com for my wife.
Shout out to Jessica as well. That's also the backbone, like you mentioned. We can't leave her out, mate.
Yeah, 100%. But I just want to say also to you boys, this is awesome. Like this is what we have needed for a long time, where it's just we can sit here and have a bit more of a casual chat, and it's not scripted and it's not like real regimented. This is like what we should be doing, and this is the best way to connect. You know,
Yeah.
for a better word, with the people of Macarthur. This is what we should be doing more of. So hats off to all of you for getting involved with this, boys, and I'm looking forward to being involved going forward.
Nah, legend. Thanks,
Josh.
mate.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode of Connect. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Josh.
We made this a free platform because we want to educate and add value to your business world. All we ask for as a payment is to hit the subscribe button and share it with people that you know would benefit from this conversation. If you want to elevate your connections, we'll see you at the next Connect Macarthur event.